I was trying to change the speed of this video. It won't let me. All right, let's go. How a teenager changed photography.
In 1996, the person behind these photos, at just 19 years old, changed photography for an entire generation of people.
How?
And without really meaning to, helped ignite a movement that critics would spend years just trying to define. This is the story of how that happened. This is the story of Hero Mix.
Hero Mix. Hero Mix? Hero Mix story?
Japan has a long history of photography, and women have always been an important part of that history. However, up until the 1990s, women appeared in the art form as the subject far more often than as the artist. As a result,
if you guys don't know the backstory behind these photos, the backstory behind these photos is that the photographer, her husband, was taking photos of her every day when she came back from work. I think for a couple of years or something. And then, he had made this like his, like, oh, this is my art of her coming back from work. So the different series of photos you see her in different outfits, but then you also see her in different sort of moods, disgruntled, happy, sad, as she's coming and trekking in and back out of work. I think he was, if I remember correctly, that he was staying at home and he himself wasn't working. But eventually they got into turmoil and they ended up eventually divorcing. I guess that's what happens when you decide to live with a broke artist. But either way, that's just the backstory behind the photos. And it's interesting that I know that.
often than as the artist. As a result, ideas of what it meant to be a young woman in Japan were most often framed through images made about women rather than by them. And this imbalance wasn't accidental. Japanese society, like many others, historically placed women within private and domestic roles, while the more public and professional side of things, including photography, were more accessible to men. Photography, therefore, frequently became a place where male ideas of femininity and youth were projected, while women's own perspectives struggled to find the same visibility or legitimacy. This, combined with serious gatekeeping by galleries and publications, meant that for decades, Japanese women's photographic voices remained almost entirely invisible. We would eventually start to see a shift in these perceptions in the 1990s. The rise of these public photo booths called Purikura, and affordable point-and-shoot cameras.
Purikura. Shout out to Japan for being consistently rent-built.
Meant that photography left studios and galleries and started living in pockets and bedrooms. But access alone doesn't change culture. What mattered was what people chose to do with it.
Right.
And in one case, a teenage...
Because just like how AI exists, just because it exists, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's what people are going to do with it. And I think a lot of people are doing things that aren't exciting, but there is always that sliver of pocket that people that want to use the technology to do things that are out there. Now I'm not talking about using it for the prawn. I'm talking using it for advancing creativity. You foods, get your mind out of the gutter, you sicko.
Girl took that new freedom seriously enough to turn it into something lasting. That girl was called Hiromi Toshikawa.
Hiromi Toshikawa.
Better known today
as Hero
Mix. Hero Mix is a photographer who was born in 1976 in the Tokyo suburb of Suginami. When she was 19, she was nominated for Canon's New Cosmos of Photography Award.
That's crazy.
A cultural support project designed to showcase aspiring young photographers. Hero Mix entered a 36-page photo book titled 17 Girl Days.
Whoa, that's a
The entry
big
itself
title.
was a collection of images exploring the everyday life of a Japanese teenager. They're photographed with a closeness that feels almost like someone thinking out loud with a camera. In regards to the competition, Hero Mix made this statement. The daily life of a 17-year-old high school student is full of danger. Radical days, passing days, a sadly pitiful world. Why is love painful?
Damn.
Rock is my life.
to have someone's perspective at this sort of age, at 17, it goes to show you the sort of advancement in maturity. Not that women have, because the whole idea of women advancing more maturely than you is it's a fallacy. Women are more socially mature because at a younger age they're already being sort of courted and coerced by older men. But it's interesting to see that this sort of idea that I just spoke on is what she's able to express and already understands that, like, yo, I'm 17, but like the things that I'm experiencing at 17, yo, these niggas are trying to hit on the boom already. I'm not even of age. Pause.
I'm scared that I'm getting closer to becoming an adult. I live, reflecting upon myself. 17 Girl Days won Hero Mix the grand prize.
Damn.
And she became an overnight sensation in Japan.
That's heavy. That photo's heavy. Like, you can't tell me that photo's not heavy, fam. There is that photo that I just saw, but it's gonna be so tough to get it.
Within a year of her new Cosmos win, Hero Mix published Girls Blue, her first photo book.
Damn.
Later the same year, the magazine's Studio Voice dedicated a 50-page spread just to her, titled We Love Hero Mix. She followed that with more books like Japanese Beauty and Hikari, steadily building a body of work.
Yo, her work is actually so good. There's that Japanese attention to detail, but there's also this story behind every photo that she's capturing. It's not just some sort of point and shoot. There's the way she's capturing it, and from the lens that she's looking at, and the things that she deems interesting, it really reflects back to the viewer to be to. There's this like intangible that exists that only she can do, because as we all know, we've all seen photography, we've all seen pictures, and we've all sat there and looked at someone shoot photos, or we've all seen photos come back to you. But there's this sense of, I don't know what the word is, but there's a thing that makes Hero Mix that's there, and it's so, and this is my first time seeing her work, but I'm so captured by it. That's crazy.
She also wasn't just respected within photography. She exploded into Japan's collective cultural consciousness during a golden age of youth culture within the country. Harajuku fashion, Shibuya music, and magazines like Fruits, Cutie and Zipper all contributed to this explosion of individuality. And Hero Mix was deeply embedded in that.
That's heavy.
Well,
I need this because I needed a tummy even still. Yeah, girl. Yeah. Whoa, girl. Take me somewhere where you love me all the time. Take me somewhere where you
stylistically, she didn't stay confined to diary-esque personal images. She began working for magazines, photographing musicians, shooting fashion and portraits. Hero Mix even partly inspired the visual identity of Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation, a film that she would also briefly appear in twice.
That's wild.
In a remarkably short period of time.
Yo, that's crazy that the work that she was doing was put into, because that movie Lost in Translation is a good film. Good film. You would almost is the film Lost in Translation then also inspired by something like Fallen Angel? Because they have that sort of dreamy feel like to them. It's cool to see the cultural backstory of it, of the pop culture.
Hero Mix estimates that she took around 30,000 photos. That work was later distilled into her year 2000 photo book, Hero Mix Works, a retrospective that won her the prestigious Kimura Ihai Award. In response to Hero Mix's popularity, Japanese camera companies began to further develop their technology so that it was easier for everyone to use. Hero Mix made photography feel accessible to everyone, whilst also at the same time proving that everyday life is worthy of art.
Everyday life is worthy of art. Her work is so nice. Her back is crazy.
Alongside peers like Yuri Nagashima and Rinko Kawauchi, Hero Mix was placed at the centre of a movement that critics would later describe as Ononoko Shashin.
Word.
It's important to note that this name didn't come from the artists themselves.
Girly
it came from the older, male-dominated photo establishment.
That's crazy. The domain of photography was so male-dominated that they literally categorized the female aesthetic as, girly photography. That is wild.
Put this new generation's aesthetics and ideas into a neat little box. But the more you look at the reaction to Ononoko Shashin, the clearer it becomes that it wasn't actually describing a style of photography at all. It was describing a threat. This wave of female artists made photography about the interior world of women. The exact thing the previous generation insisted was unworthy of serious photography.
It's true. It's essentially the counterculture to the male-dominant field of photography that was prominent in that modern-day Japan. So it's interesting that no matter what currently is popping in the zeitgeist, there's always going to be a point where a new sort of culture appears.
Calling this group of photographers' work Ononoko Shashin was really an attempt to separate it from the wider photography world. Crucially, the women it was describing entirely rejected Ononoko Shashin as a label. Nagashima said that she found it patronizing, and HeroMix never identified with it at all. And it's in that rejection that we can find the reason why HeroMix's work is so significant.
Such a sick photo, dude. That's such a sick photo. I knew that for the possible cover art. It's either going to be this one or this one. I'll let the algorithm push it, but damn, that's fire, bro.
What she was doing wasn't just a trend or a look, despite it being inherently trendy.
Right.
Her work marked the point where women started defining their own visual language within Japanese art. It changed who Japanese photography belonged to, and you can see its fingerprints in entire generations of photographers that follow.
You know I got the bag.
HeroMix is often remembered online as the girl who took the first selfie.
Interesting.
And honestly, that's how I first heard about her too. But the more I dug into her work, the more it becomes obvious that her legacy is so much bigger than that simple piece of trivia.
I don't know if she's the first girl to take a selfie. That's a bit of a flex.
Look, I am obviously not a teenage girl in 1990s Tokyo. And I would never claim to fully understand what that experience felt like, just because I've looked at HeroMix's photographs. But I don't think you need that perspective to recognise what HeroMix has given us. She documented her world with honesty, uncertainty, and excitement. And she did it all on her own terms. It shouldn't feel rare to see a perspective actually coming from the person living it. But in Japan, for a long time it was. That's the world that HeroMix pushed back against.
Right.
She didn't fix the problem entirely, but she carved out room for others to follow. And that's what really mattered. So thank you, HeroMix, for making our world a slightly better place.
That's a better title. How a teenager changed photography, or the girl who took the first selfie. This documentary was actually nice. It's by Out of Here, and that's some really good work. I ain't even gonna lie to you, bro. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you lies, because that in turn would be a lie. That was fire.